Hello, hello, and welcome to Saturday Soundbites. I'm your host, Veronica and I'm so excited to be here on Saturday Soundbites because here we talk about all things visibility strategy. We talk about branding, advertising, marketing, public relations, all the things you need to really grow your visibility and make sure that your business and your brand stands out and it attracts the type of clients that you want to bring into your space. So if you are watching on Facebook or on YouTube, make sure you drop us some comments and my guests and I can come in and connect with you. And if you're listening on the podcast, make sure you hit subscribe. We don't want you to miss any episodes of Saturday Soundbites. And with that, I am going to invite my amazing guest today. We have Blaire Brown joining us. Welcome to Saturday Soundbites.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here today.
Oh, that's so great. I love the fact that you talk about attracting the ideal clients because oftentimes when you're thinking about your visibility strategy, you get really into the graphics and the color and the fonts, and you haven't done some of that pre-work. So we're going to talk about that, but tell us how you got into that.
Oh man, it's a long story, but to sum it up, basically, I have always worked in the fashion industry. That's my main background. I have started two businesses before this one. First being a handbag design business. I ran that for about 8 years. That's what got me into the fashion industry. I ran an Amazon business selling unicorn party supplies of all things.
Okay.
'Cause why not? And
Yeah.
then, but while I was doing both those things, I was in and out working in the corporate world. But the commonality between everything was marketing, because if you have a business of any kind, brick and mortar, service-based, digital, wherever you're at, you have to put yourself in front of the right people, your ideal clients, in order to go anywhere, right? So I fell in love with it because it's creative and it's fun. You get to work with people that are excited about it, like you. And so I thought, you know what? This is going to be the perfect field for me. I'm going to go into marketing and just do that full time and then work with entrepreneurs. And so here we are today.
That's fantastic. So tell me a little bit about what you learned from being in the fashion space. And I mean, I'm sure it's very technical and broken down into your demographics and people's purchasing styles and all those kinds of things. How does that translate to what you do with entrepreneurs? Because it seems like there might be a little bit of a stretch, but I'd love to hear your perspective.
Yeah, sure. Well, starting out in fashion was just because that was my passion, even though it rhymes, not trying to do that, but that's what I just loved kind of as a hobby. But now I work with businesses of all kinds. I have a construction client, but then I also have a wedding designer client. But it does all translate into brand visibility because, you have the visuals. Like you said, people do get hung up with the visuals of the brand, like the colors, the fonts, etc. But you have to start looking at the demographics and like who actually wants your product. If you're selling something for $500, it might not go to a high school student who's on a budget, at least not me whenever I was in high school.
Sure,
Uh,
sure.
so you have to really look at data, logistics, and then start working on your brand message. I think brand messaging is crazy important, which some people don't really understand what that is. It's, how are you speaking to your audience? Are you actually able to connect that message? Is it speaking to them? Or are you branching it out to a huge audience? So you might not be targeting people to where it's actually speaking to them. Does that make
Mhm.
sense? And like,
Yeah.
did I answer
Yeah.
your question?
And I'd love to hear your perspective of that because I think people get confused with branding and brand identity and brand marketing. And so dive into that a little bit deeper so our audience can get a better sense of if they're on the right path when they're thinking about what they're doing for their businesses.
Sure. So those are all things that work together. If you have a good mix of all of them, you're going to be in a good spot. But I'd say the number one keyword of that is consistency. So if with your brand identity, like who you are, who you're speaking to, how you're speaking to these people, how you're portraying yourself visually too, those are all different branding combinations. If you have a good mix of that, and then your consistency with how you're speaking to people on your website, but then let's say they click a button on your website and they go to your social media platforms, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or even TikTok. How are you talking to them the same way there? Do you look the same way? Is it all connecting? So that way, if you did a lineup of all your brand presence, like wherever the heck you are,
Hmm. Hmm.
does it look the same? Is it consistent? Are you speaking the same? Are you saying one thing here and you're saying something else here? Consistency is key to really building up that brand visibility and making that connection across the
Mhm.
board.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And you mentioned data. Tell us a little bit about how data plays into this, because a lot of people don't know where to go and find it. They don't know what resources exist around it. And it's really important when you're looking at limited marketing dollars to put them
Totally.
towards something that really is going to make a difference with their audience.
Yeah, and I think budget is what people come to me the most and they're scared about. They're like, "Oh, I'm just starting out as an entrepreneur. Where do I start?" Data sounds like a bad word. It's not. You can do it for free. My favorite resource, honestly, are Facebook groups. I love going into Facebook groups. Write a post, say you're launching something and you're not sure how you even want to like where you want to start with branding and marketing, right? You're new. So go into Facebook groups, start do some creep around, find out what people are asking questions about. And then why don't you ask a question? Hey, I'm working on this launch, I'm launching a product or I'm building a product right now. I have a question for, and then insert your demographic. Maybe it's female entrepreneurs or, yeah, it really could be anybody.
Yeah.
People who have a new dog. Um, Type that in. I have a question for this. Would you hop on a call with me? I have a couple questions for you. Now, to make it less scary, just let them know you're not selling anything at all and don't sell anything.
Right.
Being
Right.
nice by hopping onto a call with you. So I recommend, doing market research calls. Hop on a quick 20-minute call with people, ask them questions about them, what challenges that they're facing in the area that you want to help, and then just make it about them and ask them all these questions. Record the call. Once you're done with that, have it transcribed. There's so many like really quick, less than $10 transcription services online, and then pull the phrases that they're using. And then that's how you build your brand message, because you're actually pinpointing where they need help. You're using their verbiage, not something technical that you think that they want, because you're the expert. You're not going to be speaking the same as they are ever. And so
Mhm.
just use their jargon. That's a very inexpensive, borderline free way to do it. And then use it across the board on social media. And you can ask people on, Instagram too. Hey, DM me. I'd love to ask you questions about this. And people will do it. You'd be surprised.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. And what happens if you get them on the call and you're still not sure if you're connecting? And the reason why I say that is because I've actually been on a few of these calls
Mhm.
before to either help other people or find out for myself. And sometimes the language, whether it was the vernacular or whatever it was, wasn't connecting and resonating. What does that say to you? And how do you coach folks when they're just not getting what they need?
You need to go back and like really tweak the post that you're having about these calls and like really fine tune who you're targeting, because you might not be targeting the right person then if they're not able to connect at all. Um, when it based on just a research call, you're not trying to exactly, like I said, you're not selling anything on this call, you're just getting information. But if you're not even connecting on that level, it might not be one, might not be that they need your product that you're building.
Sure.
Maybe evaluate that and then evaluate if you're targeting the right people.
Hmm. Yeah, and I've just experienced that before, and I feel like sometimes people are afraid to go back to the drawing board. Um, but sometimes that's what you really have to do if you're not connecting.
Yeah, and you know what? It's life. You're going to have some flops, and that's okay. The beauty of entrepreneurship is that you can always go back and you can always make those tweaks and pivots, because you started with nothing as a product or service to start, right? That was your vision and dream. So you can always go back and tweak it. It's your baby. You make it work. Just make sure that you have to be realistic and humble enough to realize you have to go back and make tweaks here and there sometimes.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. So you get on these calls and you're getting what you need and you find the phrases and you're ready to launch. How do you take that next step, especially when you're on a limited budget?
social media. I mean, it's a free tool and resource. And I think people will say, it's good to narrow down your audience, find where they are, but try to, take your content and repurpose it as much as you can.
Mm,
You can take, a call like this, for example, and you can repurpose it across Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you want. And that takes, however long that time segment was, and you can flip it across so many platforms and it saves you time and it reaches more audiences than you would with one platform.
Mhm.
And
And what
it's
do you Yeah, and it's free. That's what I love about it too.
yeah.
Absolutely. And there's so many free resources out there for all of us. And I love that when you're looking for your ideal client, there's an opportunity for you to find places where you thought they were and then places where you didn't know that they were. And I love that you said Pinterest because we don't talk about Pinterest a lot on Saturday Soundbites. Tell us a little bit about how that might be something folks should be looking into.
Right. So Pinterest is great because it's the gift that keeps on giving. There's so many stats. I don't have one with me, but I will tell you that it is a search engine and you should treat it as one. It's like Google and it's like YouTube. They are all search engines. So use that to your advantage because if you put something in there today, it's going to be doing the work for you over a month's span. It could be years. I've had somebody reach out to me and I should be using Pinterest more than I am right now. So, but I'm just saying, like, people will reach out for me 7 months from now from something I post yesterday, and they'll be like, "Yeah, I saw your pin, and it was really great, and it brought me to your website." And it's like amazing. And you can also use scheduling tools like Tailwind app. That's a really great hack for Pinterest. You do have to pay for some of it, but I believe they do have a free account as well, where it schedules and then it also will circulate and repin your pins you posted however long ago. So it's great because when you post it once and you don't have to worry about it 4 months from now, it'll post it again for you. Strategic.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that one. That one sounds
Oh,
really
yeah.
good.
Tailwindapp.com. It's great.
Are excellent. What are some other hacks that you like to share with folks when they're in this early phase of identifying their target audience and trying to bring them in and hone their brand message?
Well, it goes back to really repurposing your content everywhere that you can, be
Mhm.
smart about it, use scheduling tools, automate as much as you can. Obviously, there's a lot of things that you need to be personal about emails. Um, I mean, you can even automate your emails if it's to your subscriber audience. I use Flowdesk for that. It's easy to set up with your branding. It's great because you can use your brand colors, your fonts, put your logo on there once, and then it's always on your templates. Very easy. So really the main points I would say is brand consistency, you know, across the board. Ask your friends and your audience, hey, if you're wondering, like maybe branding isn't your strength. Hey, does this make sense across the board? If you were to land on these 3 locations, what would you think? And then take their feedback and then make tweaks accordingly. So then your branding is consistent. And then maintain that social media presence. If social media scares you, get over it. It's here to stay. It's not everybody's favorite. It's not even my favorite, but it's necessary and it's a free tool and resource. I definitely would take advantage of that.
Absolutely. And do you think that that's true for both service providers and for product providers? I think, oftentimes people think, well, I'm a service provider, I'm a consultant, I do XYZ, so social media really isn't where I should be. What do you say to that?
I disagree. I think that it might not be, YouTube might not be your spot
Sure.
or pen, Facebook might not be your thing if you have like a super, super, super young audience, right? They aren't even on Facebook anymore. But I know I'm like, I'm on Facebook. But yeah, I love it. It's, you know, find your audience if maybe you're not everywhere. Talk to them. I don't care what business you're in, if your product, service, you have an audience on social media. Everybody is glued to their phones. Utilize it. Again, it's free. And if you don't like doing it, hire some help. There's, inexpensive ways to outsource your help. You can find them in the Facebook groups and you can find them in other locations too. Just, you have to look for it. Be an opportunity seeker, find it.
Yeah. And so when you've launched your product or your service and you feel pretty confident about the group that you're in because maybe you're getting really great response, how do you, Blair, go back and make sure that you capitalized on that and leveraged all of that. And the reason why I ask is because I've heard people say, I had this really great launch and it was fantastic. And then I didn't know what to do with it. And so they've got these email lists that they've, grown, and they may have an email sequence, but they're not leveraging it. How do you help folks kind of get past that initial success of a launch? Because that's really where like you said, Pinterest is a gift that keeps on giving. That's really where the meat is.
Yeah. So it goes back to automating things again.
Mm-hmm.
So once they are interested in your launch, you're not harassing them. They sign up for your webinar or live event, whatever you're hosting. You have a successful launch. You are on this high of life from it right now because it's so much work, right?
Yeah.
Keep it going. Set up a plan in advance, an automated system to keep these people interested, because the average person is not going to buy immediately, sadly.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a few will, not a lot. I believe it's about 7 times at least, but for people to touch on your brand before they make a purchase. So set up an awesome email system. Even if you have 20 subscribers or no subscribers, start an email system. Create content that's value, and then also an invitation.
Mm-hmm.
People get scared, business owners do, of emails, because I think that they're like, I don't want to be too salesy and scare them away. But there's a way that you don't have to be salesy and scare them away. It's called value and an invitation. Let's say you send out 2 emails a week, 1 day a week, it's value. You're not selling anything. You're providing an awesome blog for a resource, showing them a cool post that you did on Instagram, a really cool hack that they can try on their own that day that takes 5 minutes, and it's free for you to give them that advice. But then they're like, oh, wow, Veronica has this amazing email. I'm opening all of them because she has all the hacks, right? So that's a value. Then the next one could be an invitation, like, hey, I'd love to invite you to my Facebook group. That way you can engage with them further on a personal level. Or, hey, I just launched a YouTube channel. Go check it out. There's free content there. That's something that's inviting them to be more connected with you.
Mm-hmm.
But you're also not selling something. However, it opens that window of opportunity for them to be more interested in buying from you later.
Yeah.
But another invitation that you could slide in there is an invitation to that webinar that you already had. They're already interested in it. Obviously, they signed up to be on your list to watch it initially, but maybe they need to see it a second time to really connect and actually want to buy it. And they're like, okay, Veronica's the real deal. I'm ready to buy the product now. So in my opinion, I would set up recommendation really, set up an automated email system. If you have 2 going out a week, value, invitation, boom, that's a better way to connect with them.
Yeah, I like that idea. And sometimes people don't realize that that's a really strong marketing strategy to implement. And I love that you said that people have this conflict between marketing and sales. And I tell people all the time, you're marketing your brand. What you do next is the sale, but the marketing part is really the invitation and the opportunity for them to connect with you. So I loved that advice that you gave about an email sequence. And how do you recommend folks increase their email lists?
It's really just being on social media. I know I'm really harping on that today, but and being social on social media.
Right.
I think Facebook groups are an excellent way to get email addresses. You don't have to make them private, but it's a strategy to make your Facebook group private. So that way, whenever they ask to join, you can have asking them for an email to be a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Then immediately they're connected in your group, having conversations if you're doing it daily. Then you also have them on your email list. It's a win. That's a great way to grow it. Also, you can, of course, create freebies, create a free tool that's going to give them a success. Don't give them just some blank piece of paper with a grid on it.
Right.
Give them something that actually helps them and gives them a win. And then they're going to say, that was cool. That really helped me out. I would love to see what else she sells. If that's for free, what is she providing whenever she's selling something? It's got to be amazing, right? So make it actually provide value. But in order for them to get the freebie, have it be set up where you capture their email address. And then also on your website, which hopefully you have a website. If you're not, build one.
Yeah.
Have locations on your website to capture their email address. You'd be surprised at how many I get without a freebie even. So definitely utilize that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. So I want to ask you, what is like one of the biggest mistakes you see people making? You see on online entrepreneurs, they're coming into this space, and what makes you cringe when you see people just launching and missing an opportunity?
Oh, great question. There's quite a few cringy things. I would say, as a brand new entrepreneur, the cringiest though is whenever they say, I don't want to spend any money at all on my business to start out. And
Oh,
I would rather just Google everything for free and then I'll find all my answers. You can absolutely do that. Yes, you can. Google's out there. It's a lot of information. However, it will hold you back from starting your business because it's going to take you, it's going to add a year of researching and stress and conflicting ideas on Google, right? Because there's
right.
always conflicting things. Have a freebie, don't have a freebie, that's going to stress you out. It's going to get you in this hamster wheel that you can't get out of. Whereas if you invest in the right tools that are actually going to guide you, you're learning from people who have made the mistakes so you don't have to, that's going to springboard you into a more successful route than Googling it for the next year. So I think the cringiest thing is not investing in yourself. And I'm not saying spend millions of dollars. You don't
Right.
do that. But really value yourself as an entrepreneur and as a business owner, because that's what you are. And value the fact that you're taking this leap and that you're ready to invest in yourself as an entrepreneur, because it does take time to build up. It's not overnight, usually, really ever.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so if you invest in the right tools from the start, even on a smaller scale, it's going to help you out so much long term.
Oh, that's such great advice, Blair. Such great advice. So tell us how you help folks. How can people work with you if they're listening to the podcast or they're watching the video and they like what they hear? How can they connect with Blair?
Sure. So I work with new entrepreneurs all the time. That's like honestly my passion because I've done it before. I am doing it. And I have made all those mistakes. So I work with people as a consultant. They come to me and they're like, Blair, oh, I hate marketing. I don't know what to do. I have nowhere to start. I help guide people in the right direction. I'll be like, okay, pep talk, let's roll. Here's a list of strategies. Step 1, step 2, step 3. It provides so much clarity and actually a roadmap of where you need to go and in the right direction. So that way you're not stuck on that hamster wheel for a year. Instead, we talk for an hour and you already have a roadmap done for you. That is so much better than, stressing about where to go and then making those mistakes that I've made. So I do that. People can schedule calls with me to have a consult call, but I'm also building a program right now. It's launching in June to help people out. We partner together. I am creating an entire course about here's how to make your business official from the start. Here's how you can set up the branding and marketing for your business on a foundational level that's going to set up all your social media initiatives for success. And then here's how you set up the operations at the end. So
Mm.
that way it really gets you started in the right direction. And then there's going to be weekly group calls. So that way, if you do get stuck, you're not just in this course world on your own. You actually have me to talk to in a group call, and you can actually ask me questions personally, and I can help guide you. So that's how you can work with me. And I help people with marketing as well. So you can check all that out on my website. Email me. It's me who answers the emails, or just message me on social media. On social media, I'm at Business by Blaire Brown, and I have a podcast, Curate Your Success Podcast.
That's exciting. Well, I put your website on there and all your contact information will
Thank
be
you.
in the show notes. I'm so excited, Blair, that we got to connect and your
Woo.
tips were fantastic. I loved them.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today. This has been great.
Awesome. All right, folks, you need to go out and connect with Blair. She is fantastic. Now she's got an E on the name on her name too, so make sure you get that. Click any of the links in the show notes. You will want to connect with her, get some great resources and tips. Marketing is not something you should be scared of. We can all do it. We just have to find the right formula that works for us. So, with that, I'm going to wrap up this episode of Saturday Soundbites. If you are listening on the podcast, make sure you hit subscribe. We don't want you to miss any episodes. And if you are watching on Facebook or on on YouTube, drop us some comments, and Blair and I will go back and clarify any questions that you have and make sure that you get the resources you need to grow your business. So with that, I'm going to wrap up this episode by sending you lots of positive energy and light.